Hey students, my name is Lakenzie Kemp and I'm the author of Somewhere Between Bitter and Sweet, a YA contemporary romance about first love, familial expectations, the power of food, and finding where you belong set in a Mexican restaurant that is the heart of a fiercely loyal Chicana community. In today's craft video, we'll be talking about setting. Writers use setting to create historical and cultural context, to develop characters, to spur conflict, and to create mood. It's this last one we'll be focusing on as we answer the question, how do writers use setting to create mood? But before we get started, let's quickly define these two things. Setting is the time and place of a story, but it can also include things like climate, geography, as well as the social and political environment of a particular time and place. Mood is the emotional atmosphere of a story. In other words, it's the feeling that a particular setting gives off. Another device we need to define in order to show how these two things connect is diction. Diction refers to the words an author chooses in order to create a certain mood. These are emotionally charged words that either have a negative or positive connotation that elicits a specific emotion from the reader when they appear in the text. So, if a writer wants to create a setting that gives off a spooky or creepy feeling, they can choose specific words with a negative connotation that help paint that picture for the reader. In my book, Somewhere Between Bitter and Sweet, much of the story takes place in a restaurant. In fact, the book begins with the female protagonist, Pen, working in her family's restaurant on an extremely busy night. The kitchen is slammed, the customers are starting to get a little rowdy, the new girl has broken several plates, and a fight starts to break out between two guys at the bar. The mood of most of the first chapter is chaotic. But instead of simply telling the reader that the restaurant is busy and that the employees are stressed, I showed this through the diction I chose to describe the setting. I opened the story by first describing the sounds of the restaurant, using words like staccato and clank, which are not very soothing sounds, and instead signal to the reader that the restaurant is not a place to relax tonight. I also use sound in this next excerpt to associate glass breaking with the loud explosion of a gun. This reference works to create tension in multiple ways. First, just the idea of a gun going off implies high stakes. It makes the reader think of danger, recoil, disorientation. It also alludes to the start of a race when runners are released from their blocks. This adds to the sense that the restaurant employees are working against the clock and that they need to move as fast as they can. So I'm using both sensory details as well as relying on the reader's background knowledge to fully immerse them in the chaos of the restaurant. Can you spot the diction in these next few excerpts that are helping to create a chaotic and stressful mood? The diction in these excerpts, rush, burn, crash, knocking, rakes, broken, and spoiled, add to the chaos surrounding Pen and the other restaurant employees. Also, describing the setting using these short staccato sentences mimics how Pen is being pulled from one disaster to the next. But a busy restaurant is not inherently negative or chaotic. If this restaurant was struggling to drum up business and suddenly they had dozens of customers, we would use more positive words to describe the environment, ones that create an emotional atmosphere of hope, joy, and gratitude. So it's not the setting alone that creates the mood, but it's the diction used to describe that setting. So to recap, here are some things to pay attention to when you're analyzing the mood of a particular setting. What diction is the writer using? Do these words have a mostly positive or negative connotation? Are they using words that allude to or remind you of something else? What sensory details is the writer using? How do these sensory details make you feel as you read? Now it's your turn, because the best way to understand the mind of a writer is to practice with the same tools they use. Choose one setting and one mood word, and then describe the setting in a way that creates that particular mood. You can use these examples and mix and match them however you'd like, or come up with a specific setting and mood on your own. To make it even more interesting, try writing this description with a partner or small group. taking turns with each person writing one line at a time. So hit pause here and get to brainstorming, or save this activity for later and check out the rest of the Latinx Kidlit Book Festival craft series on our YouTube channel. We can't wait to see you at the festival. Happy writing!